French Revolution didn't explode because of one bad harvest or one angry crowd. It happened because, again and again, the people in power made choices that shut down every peaceful way out. Imagine a country drowning in debt, but the richest elites refused to pay taxes. A king, Louis XVI, promising change, then refusing to decide how votes would even count. Troops marching toward a hungry city already on edge. A revolutionary assembly printing mountains of paper money until bread becomes unaffordable. And finally, ambitious politicians pushing France into a war they can't control. Each decision narrowed the options. Each one raised the stakes. And with every door slammed shut, anger turned into action. So let's break down the 5 choices that turned crisis into revolution and made 1789 impossible to stop. Choice 1. The choice to maintain tax exemptions for the rich. Before crowds stormed prisons or kings lost their heads, the real crisis was financial, and it was self-inflicted. By the time Louis XVI took the throne, France was one of the richest and most powerful countries in Europe, but its tax system was broken. The people who owned most of the land and wealth, the nobility and the clergy, barely paid anything. They were exempt from major taxes like the tille. Meanwhile, peasants, workers, and the middle class, the third estate, carried the load. The clergy and nobles controlled nearly 90% of the country's wealth, yet the burden of funding the state fell on everyone else. And by the 1780s, the state was desperate. After expensive wars, including support for the American Revolution, France was drowning in debt. More than half of the government's annual revenue was going just to pay interest. Financial ministers like Turgot and Calonne saw the problem clearly. Their solution was simple: create a universal land tax so everyone, including the nobles, would contribute. But the aristocracy refused. They argued the king had no legal right to tax them. They wanted the crisis fixed, just not at their expense. So, instead of reform, the monarchy borrowed more money at higher interest, until lenders stopped trusting France. The system was collapsing, and the elites chose to protect their privileges rather than save it. That choice didn't just drain the treasury, it destroyed public trust. And with the country on the edge of bankruptcy, the king was forced into a decision that would change everything. Choice 2. The king's choice to double the third estate, without defining the vote. By 1788, France was broke. The treasury was empty, lenders were nervous, and the pressure was unbearable. So Louis XVI made a dramatic move. He called the Estates General, a representative assembly that hadn't met in 175 years. This was huge. Across France, people began writing complaints and demands. Pamphlets spread everywhere, including Abbé Sieyès' famous "What is the Third Estate?", arguing that common people were the nation itself. For a moment, it felt like real change might finally happen. Then the king made what looked like a bold decision. He agreed to double the representation of the Third Estate. Instead of 300 delegates, they would have 600, equal to the clergy and nobility combined. On paper, that sounded fair and people celebrated. But here's where the gamble came in. Louis never clarified how voting would work. Would each estate get one vote, meaning the clergy and nobles could outvote the Third Estate 2-1? Or would votes be counted by head, giving the 600 representatives real power? That single unanswered question changed everything. When the Estates General met in May 1789, the Third Estate demanded voting by head. The nobles refused. For 6 weeks, nothing moved. No reform, no compromise. The king stood back, undecided, unwilling to force a solution. By doubling representation but refusing to change the rules, Louis created hope and then trapped it. The political deadlock pushed the Third Estate to take matters into their own hands. On June 17th, they declared themselves the National Assembly. And that's when this political standoff began turning into open defiance. Choice 3. The royalist choice to lock them out and call up the army. What began as a political deadlock now started to feel like a threat of force. After the Third Estate declared itself the National Assembly and swore the tennis court oath, the pressure was on. At first, Louis XVI appeared to offer compromise, promising fiscal reforms and civil liberties. But at the same time, he insisted the three estates remain separate. Mixed signals, no clear direction. Then came the move that changed everything. Influenced by hardliners around him, including Marie Antoinette, the king ordered around 20,000 royal troops to gather near Paris and Versailles between late June and early July 1789. Many of them were foreign regiments, including Swiss and German soldiers. People didn't see this as a security measure. They saw it as preparation for a crackdown. They believed the king was about to dissolve the National Assembly by force. Then, on July 11th, the king dismissed Jacques Necker, his popular finance minister. That was the spark. Within days, crowds began arming themselves. On July 14th, they raided the Hôtel des Invalides for muskets. But they needed gunpowder. That's why they marched to the Bastille. The storming of the Bastille wasn't just about freeing prisoners, it was about stopping what people believed was an incoming massacre. A political crisis had now turned into open rebellion. Choice 4. The Assembly's choice to make the state bankrupt by design. The Bastille had fallen. Feudal privileges were abolished. The Declaration of the Rights of Man was announced. It felt like a new France was being born. But there was one problem. France was still broke. The National Assembly needed money fast, so they looked at the biggest source of wealth left, the Catholic Church. The Church owned nearly 10% of all land in France. In November 1789, the Assembly confiscated that land and declared it property of the nation. To turn that land into cash, they created a new paper currency called the assignat. At first, it was meant to be backed by the value of the confiscated land. It sounded smart and controlled, but temporary. But the government kept printing more and more. By 1796, over 45 billion livres worth of assignats were in circulation. That's when inflation spiraled out of control. Savings became worthless almost overnight. Anger shifted from abstract political ideas to something far more urgent: food. The streets filled with people demanding price controls. The revolution hardened. Economic chaos pushed the movement into a more radical phase. And just when France was already unstable, another decision would raise the stakes even higher. War. Choice 5. War to save the revolution and the fall of the monarchy. By 1792, France was no longer just arguing about reform, it was fighting for survival. Inside the Legislative Assembly, a political group known as the Girondins believed war was the answer. They argued that a foreign conflict would unite the country, spread revolutionary ideas, and expose the king's loyalty once and for all. At the same time, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette quietly hoped for the opposite, that foreign armies would crush the revolution and restore royal power. In April 1792, France declared war on Austria. It went badly from the start. The French army was disorganized, officers defected, Prussian forces advanced. Then came the Brunswick Manifesto, threatening to destroy Paris if the royal family was harmed. For many Parisians, that was proof the king was working with the enemy. Fear turned into fury. On August 10th, 1792, crowds stormed the Tuileries Palace. The monarchy effectively collapsed that day. What followed were the September massacres and the creation of a new government, the National Convention. War didn't save the revolution, it radicalized it. It led directly to the trial and execution of the king and opened the door to the reign of terror. Step by step, these 5 choices made the French Revolution not just possible, but unstoppable.